Seminole County, Florida is home to 7 native lizard species, and I caught every single one of them. Except this guy. I'm not brave enough for that, but we'll get to him later. Let's start with the hardest lizard to catch on this list. The six-lined... Wait, what? The hardest lizard to catch on this list isn't the fastest lizard? Then what is it? Seriously? The little brown skink? Well, alright then. Ah yes, the little brown skink. It's little. It's brown. It's skink. So why exactly was this diminutive little reptile the hardest lizard to catch? They aren't exactly fast, and they're pretty common, but they have very strict temperature preferences. Unlike most reptiles, little brown skinks prefer colder temperatures, and they like it humid. But the biggest reason they were a pain to catch is because they live in dense leaf litter, and they always hide underneath it once spotted, making it nearly impossible to find them again. This little goober is the reason this video got delayed 2 years. Anyway, who's next? Oh. Well, he looks like fun. Meet the southeastern five-lined skink, a much larger lizard who wasn't particularly excited to be in this video. But don't worry, we made up. And he even gave me a little kiss. How sweet. And it didn't even break skin. That's a relief. Southeastern five-lined skinks have bright red heads and light brown bodies as adults. But as juveniles, they have dark black bodies with yellow stripes and bright blue tails. And you would think that this uniquely colored lizard would be very easy to identify, but no. Because these two are not southeastern five-lined skinks. These are broad-headed skinks. Back to this guy. Broad-headed skink males have large red heads with a very powerful bite. Females, like his lady friend over there, have normal-sized heads, but they look almost exactly like five-lined skinks. So how do you tell the difference between them when for most parts of their lives they look identical? Well, you gotta catch them. At the base of their tails, you will find rows of scales. If there are multiple rows of small scales, like on this one, it's a southeastern five-lined skink. If you find a singular row of enlarged scales, it's a broad-headed skink. If we take a look at this juvenile skink here, who's definitely seen better days, oof, we'll see that its tail scales are so worn down that identifying it is pretty much impossible. Is it southeastern five-lined, or is it broad-headed? Beats me, but let me know what you think it is. Pretty confusing, right? Well, things are only going to get weirder. Who's next? Now we can talk about six-lined race runners. As alluded to earlier, six-lined race runners are the fastest lizards in Seminole County, Florida. They're definitely the second hardest lizard to catch, but I caught 2 of them in 4 years, so I think I did pretty well for myself. Males, like this one, have bright blue ventral scales across their entire underside. Females have sandy-colored ventral scales in order to blend in better. They have 6 yellow lateral stripes that extend all the way down their tail. Usually. He's going through a lot, don't judge him. These lizards are often inquisitive little dudes that often investigated and licked my snake hook during my attempts to pin them with it, which never worked. So there's a lot going on in their tiny brains. I caught this one under a log I flipped, and then I got bit, as is the custom. Up next is another lizard that prefers upland, dry, scrubby environments in Florida, the eastern fence lizard. It's not on a fence, but okay. Like male race runners, Male fence lizards also have bright blue scales along their throat and bellies. Additionally, males also sport dark black coloration in those areas, and they have orange and yellow scales on their sides and back. Female fence lizards have the same silver, gray, and black colors around their entire body. Adults prefer to live on pine trees, but babies prefer hunting on the ground. They're not very fast, nor are they great at hiding. Poor little dude thinks he's camouflaged. I'm just very interested in this pine cone today, nothing to see here. Fence lizards have rough, pointy scales, but they aren't sharp enough to cut skin. These lizards are surprisingly docile when handled, as I have caught many and never been bit once. I guess they just kind of give up and play dead. Oh, he's blind. Well, that explains a lot. The next lizard on my list is the eastern glass lizard. Wait, hold on. I think he's missing a few parts. This is gonna need some explaining. It might come as a surprise that not only do legless lizards exist, but they are quite common throughout the world. You know what this is? It's a legless gecko. Yeah, they're a real thing. This one's even doing the classic gecko behavior of licking its eyeballs. There's like over 40 species of these things, and if you're wondering why they exist, because Australia. Anyway, back to glass lizards. Florida is home to about 3 species, but Seminole County only has the eastern glass lizard. It is the largest native lizard in the state, keyword being native. There's definitely larger lizards in Florida, but they aren't native. You are probably asking, how can I tell that this is a lizard and not a snake? There's actually quite a few ways you can tell. They have external ear openings, while snakes don't. They have a stretchy fold of skin along their scales called a dorsolateral fold. I'm not exactly sure what it does, but snakes don't have them, so use it as an identifying characteristic. Their cloaca, or butt, is significantly closer to their head than it is to the tip of their tail, which is a stark contrast to snakes, which have their cloaca near the end of their body with a relatively short tail. That means that the majority of a glass lizard's body is their tail. Seriously, look how long this tail is. And that tail is extra long because glass lizards often break it off when attacked by predators. You can see clearly that this one lost a lot of its tail and has only regrown a small amount, which never retains its original color. And that's why it's very important that whenever I catch a glass lizard, that I always grab it above the cloaca so it won't detach its tail, shattering it like glass. I've caught 7 of these lizards over the years, and only 2 of them had no tail regrowth, so they often encounter predators and need to drop their tails to escape. Fortunately, I have never caused a glass lizard to drop its tail, and they seem pretty chill, most of the time. Glass lizards may not have legs, but their closest relatives, the alligator lizards, do. And no, alligator lizards aren't alligators. And alligators aren't lizards, they're crocodilians. But not crocodiles. Confused yet? I told you it was going to get weird. The last native lizard in Seminole County, Florida is probably the one most people are familiar with, the green anole. Male green anoles have an extendable flap of skin on their throats called a dewlap, which they use to impress females, establish territory with competing rival males, and potentially even intimidate predators. They'll even do it to you if you look at them for too long. Green anoles are pretty fragile lizards that can easily lose their tails if grabbed incorrectly. They usually bite, but it's not painful. Green anoles may be the only native anole species in Florida, but they aren't the only anole species in Florida. You didn't think I was going to make a lizard video and not mention brown anoles, did you? Brown anoles are the most common reptile in Florida, but they originate from Cuba and have since become established as a very invasive species. They often compete with green anoles for territory, and they usually win because they're more aggressive and larger. You would think that telling these two anoles apart would be easy, but if you've learned anything by now, it's that we can't have it that easy. Green anoles aren't always green. I swear this photo was just for educational purposes. So how do we tell the green anole apart from the brown anole when green anoles aren't always green? If the upper lips are white, it's a green anole. If the upper lip is brown, it's a brown anole. You got something on your face there, bud. Okay, to finish up this video, let's take a look at the other invasive lizards in Seminole County, Florida that I've managed to catch. The tropical house gecko and the Mediterranean house gecko. Tropical house geckos are significantly more common and get larger than other house geckos in this area. They are pretty nondescript as adults, but as juveniles they have banded tails. Mediterranean house geckos also have banded tails, but they have extremely bumpy skin, making them physically different from other house geckos with smoother skin. And that covers every lizard species I've managed to catch in Seminole County, Florida. There's certainly other invasive lizards I haven't caught, such as the Peters rockagama and the northern curly-tailed lizard, but if you want to see those and more invasive lizards from South Florida, you can watch my herping video from the Florida Everglades. Thank you guys for watching, and if you've made it this far, let me know which lizard is your favorite. Again, this was for educational purposes only. Anyway, bye!